Okay, perfect. How you guys doing today? Good? Yeah? Everybody's excited? Come on, you're out. It's a Monday night. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. It's good. Some excitement. Hey, we're in Durham region. This is huge. So this is our third event in Durham region. So we're pretty excited. I guess I'm a Durham boy because I live here. So always been a fan of wanting to come here and actually run events, and this is our third one. First time at the G Center. And this is I believe our 24th show that we have run under OPN in the last just over a year. So my name is Jeffrey Podman. If you guys are interested in connecting, you can find me on LinkedIn, which is, I think it's just Jeffrey Podman. And look up under opn.ninja. So why are we kind of here today? So what we do at OPN, which is called the Open People Network, is we wanted to create a platform and a space for startups to be able to practice, come up, and pitch their business to angel investors. They're going to be doing this at some point in time in their up-and-coming prospecting time in their business. So we wanted to be able to help facilitate that. And the best way of doing that was to create a show that allowed for them to come up and us to all sit there and rate and judge and help them out along the way. This mic's cutting out pretty bad. So you guys can tweet, Instagram, photos, selfies, all that good stuff. Look, there's one happening right now. It's perfect. So we always appreciate the social stuff. And you can find us all over these on the next up-and-coming events. So what do we do at Pitchit? It's all about spend less time finding money and more time growing your business. We want to be able to help streamline that process and make it a little bit quicker, so that when you do start to look for money, we have avenues that can help you with that. And inside of the OPN network, what we've created in the last up-and-coming last 3-4 months is we started to create an accelerator as well as a fund. The fund is called the Supporters Fund, and it will look to and has already started to make investments into startups. So we're pretty excited about that. And just as well with the accelerator part, we work pretty closely with a handful of companies in growing to be able to help them work their way into getting in front of the angel networks. Some of the logos of the businesses that have pitched with us in the last year. We've had close to 100 companies pitch. Some you'll recognize, some are coming up today. And it's been pretty exciting. We've had a lot of great startups come through and work with us over the last 12 to 14 months. The next session, just to keep everybody, because I know Durham people love to travel, our next event is Thursday night, and it's Pitchit TO, which is the original, I guess the first one we ever did, which is Pitchit TO. And it runs at 251 Queen Street West, and you're all welcome to come out, so you can sign up on Meetup or on opn.ninja. And it's a pretty cool event as well. Well, the place is pretty cool, just like the G Center. So that makes it cool, right? Okay, so the sponsors for today, we want to thank Flow Water because they come to all of our events. Well, they don't personally do, but they ship their water to us, which is what everybody gets to drink. This is one of our more early stage startups that we invested in a while back, and they've been supporting us ever since. So every event we've had, Flow Water sends their water in, so which is pretty awesome of them. Falcon Brewery, well, we had a bit of a slip up today, so they're still a sponsor because they're great people, but unfortunately I didn't realize they're closed on Mondays, so I wasn't able to pick up the Falcon beer. So I had to make a pit stop at the winery on the way here, which is really quick, and I said, what can I get? I need to be there in 10 minutes. They said, take this stuff. And apparently it's chocolate wine, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. Apologize, that was my my bad. I should have checked the hours. I thought alcohol was open every day. We got to thank the town of Ajax for supporting us and being a big fan of what we do. They've come to step up by helping us, promoting it and pushing and getting us a space. Virtuous Zone is one of our partners for a long time in my software company, which is Heartboot, and they support and help anything to do with networks, hosting, all that great stuff. And Miller Thompson, who has been another partner that has jumped in to help us on the legal side and help take care of all of the startups that work with us. And I'm just going to have this really amazing gentleman in the back to come up and speak to us. He said he wants to take 1 minute. I don't know if Ash, that's enough time, but I'm hoping that'll work. From the G Center.
Thank you. Hey guys, how is Durham tonight? Come on, Jeffrey was calling Durham. You know, you had your stuff all over the place. Thank you for bringing your event to the G Center, Jeffrey. We appreciate it. And within the minute, for sure, count it down. We're an office space. We have 30 offices. We're a membership site. If you're in business, we've got everything you want to know and do to plug and play your laptop in business. But what we really are is a community builder. So as much as you want to build your business anywhere else you go, whether you're in your basement or your living room or you step out from an office space, we want to create a community. And you're going to see that on our social media as you discover what it would look like to have a business here. So that's my pitch for the G Center. Love to give you a tour after this is all over. But what I really want to do is thank Jeffrey and the town of Ajax for bringing this over here, because every time you rent this event hall, 22% of net proceeds goes to Grandview Kids. How many people like that idea? So 22% goes to Grandview Kids from this event today, from Edwin's event on Thursday. You've got a coaching program here, get to know Edwin, come out to his event. And then we've got Jeannie Theriot, our resident chef. 22% of the food net proceeds goes to Grandview Kids. So I just want to wish you all a great time tonight. But what I'm really present to is there's a lot of empty seats here. And Jeffrey worked very hard to bring entrepreneurship to Durham. The next time we have it right here in Durham, we want you to bring 2 people with you, because there's so many people that can benefit from an event like this. We had Sean Weiss teaching, how do you do it Dragon Den style? Well, he teaches it grassroots, where the rubber hits the road, right? That's what he does. That's what you're here to learn today. So be enthusiastic with everybody you're going to meet. Bring a lot of people, because that's the way we do it in Durham. Thank you, Jeffrey. That was about 59 seconds.
I just realized that mic isn't very good, so I'm going to wire it up. It's cutting out like crazy. Could be just you, Ash, though. Maybe that's just the way you talk. All right, awesome. Thank you, Ash. That was great. And again, Edwin has an event Thursday night, so keep that in mind here, same spot, same time. Morning, in the morning. Take work off and come. Okay, so how do we work? What do we do? It's an 11-minute pitch. At the end of the 11 minutes, which it is timed, we then go to the Angels, the front panel, and it's 1 minute each of advising comments, feedback, thoughts, and feelings. And they may go hard, they may be mean, but at the end of the day, it's because they want you to succeed. And then we're going to do 5 minutes of Q&A from the crowd, so you guys can build up some stories, some questions, and we'll ask those. Just state your name before you do it, just so everybody can get familiar with who you are, because, hey, at the end of the day, we're all here to network, so if you don't state your name, no one's going to know who you are. And if you have a bad question, then that might be the reason you don't want to state your name, right? I'm on to you guys. I'm on to you. All right. If you guys have business cards, drop them off in the back. Laura, Katrina, someone will take them from you, and we'll do a draw for a t-shirt. Okay, so our front panel. Malcolm. Raise your hand. There you go. I like that. Malcolm is the leader of the Spark Angels in the Durham region, and we always appreciate his time coming out and giving us some unsolicited details back to all the startups, and some of them he gets to see many times over and over again, which is great. So we do welcome you and thank you. Marlon. Marlon's an awesome guy, and he is part of the Durham region, and he helps with a lot of startups on getting them ready mentally, physically, prepared for all their pitches. So he brings a lot of things that people need when it comes to building your presentation and building out yourself, actually, when it comes to presenting. So welcome and thank you for coming. Angelo, good man. He's also Angel of the Year, York Angels, and has done a fantastic job in helping startups over the last, what has it been, 30 years?
Yeah,
something like that.
When you get to my age, time becomes a blur.
Fair enough, fair enough. But it's been a long time, and he's a great guy helping startups move their way through. So we got to thank the guys for coming in. So to start everything off, we have 4 great companies: Aeronix, Amina, Pitched, and Ribbit. I did that intentionally, I think. All right, so the first one is going to be, wait for it, wait for it. Of course, I don't know how to use this other system. Yep, just not this Mac. There we go, Everett.
Timer will be my hand. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Everett Finley. I'm the CEO of Aeronix. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do and what we developed. So we developed a technology that is going to change the landscape of the entertainment industry. And we're going to talk about how we're going to bring that to the world. So that technology is drone light shows. So here, drone light shows. Oh, hopefully you can still hear that a little bit. So this is from one of our first events. So this is at York University, big glass building, a new building. It was incredible. The idea was that the party was going on inside. No one knew what was going on outside, and they just started seeing this all happen through the windows. And what ended up happening was someone found an open door, like middle of November, so it's pretty cold out. Someone finds an open door, and there's a stampede of people to get outside of the balcony to get a better view of this. So I'm on the inside, and I'm hearing people's reactions, and they're just pushing Elvin to get outside. Like, oh, this is amazing. I didn't know this was possible. So it's such a great motivator for us to know that this is something that, you know, we were really on the right track, that it was something that people really, really enjoyed, and we were on something big here. Now, this is with 20 drones we were able to put on this type of show for them. So the crowd absolutely loved it. But imagine what's possible with 50 drones, with 100 drones, with 1,000 drones. So this is going to be unreal what this technology is going to be able to do in the next year or two. So you might be wondering, what's the market size for something like this? It's a new technology. It's hard to predict. So if we could look at some of the comparables, some of the other industries. So let's just pick one. So let's look at fireworks as a sort of outdoor entertainment thing. So fireworks, just the commercial stuff, not the background stuff, just the commercial fireworks industry is a $4 billion a year industry. And so we want to look at them a little comparison. So, I mean, both have lights, obviously. Sound is a bit of a blessing and a curse for fireworks. That's a great part of it, but also a lot of areas don't allow it. Noise violations, dogs get really scared. No one likes that. But with us, it's just everything's synced up to music, so you can make the volume as loud as you want. They're both scalable. You do any size of shows that you want, whatever the client's looking for. But we talk about some of the bad things. So fireworks out there are terrible for the environment. Put all sorts of bad stuff in the atmosphere. Not the drones, no problem there. We're customizable. So what I mean by that is we're working with a 3-dimensional canvas that you can do anything that you want. So a client wants maybe a themed event, maybe it's a Canada Day, maybe it's a Christmas show. Maybe they want to pull in some brand activation, some marketing to offset some of their costs. They want to use some logos for a company that wants to sponsor. So huge potential there that never existed before with fireworks. They're repeatable. So some Disney parks will spend $50,000 every single night just on raw material that gets used up. It's just gone. With our technology, all you need to do is recharge the batteries and you can play again. So massive saving potential there. And it's shareable. So what I mean by that is that once you've designed a great performance, it's basically a set of files. And so that set of files can be shared with anyone around the world that has our technology. So you have a community that can share shows together, and you can really, really save on design costs by spreading that over multiple operations. So when we think about like $4 billion industry for fireworks, I think when we compare these two, I think we can blow that out of the water with this technology. So as far as competition goes, Intel is probably the best known. So they did the Super Bowl last year with Lady Gaga. They partnered with Disney, but they basically do like a couple of really big shows a year. Same with Ars Electronica. They had initially partnered up with Intel. They've since gone their separate ways, but same thing. They do maybe 2 or 3 big shows a year, usually with 100 drones. And Unique is the current record holder right now with the 1,000 drone show. They've just done 1 show last Christmas, or last winter, I should say. But I think all of the competitors in this market, I would argue that they're really going about this the wrong way. So they're not taking advantage of the best parts about this technology. So they're scaling it up to big shows and they're customizing it, but they're just doing these one-off shows. So they're not taking advantage of the fact that it's reusable, and they're not sharing it amongst operations. They just have their one big, massive group that just travels all over the world, and it just takes 6 months to plan. It takes an insane amount of cost just to make it happen. So they're really, I don't think, doing this the right way. And just as an aside, so we've done more shows than all of our competitors already. So AirLaunch, we're going about it a bit differently. So what we want to do is avoid that big operation, avoid the 6 month planning time and all those huge costs. And we want to set up operations all over the world, start small. This is sort of a franchise model. Start small and then grow simultaneously in all these markets at once. So that's really how we want to grow this company. And so we talk about the give and get that we get from this model. So what we give them, the software that runs this. So it's the software that's on the drones. We have a ground station software that controls everything, and then the communication network that handles all the communication between the ground station and the drones themselves. We give them training on how to use it. It's a really easy system. We get them up and running, no problem. And then we start them off with a certain number of designs that they can work with. And then we're also working on a program that's designed specifically to create their own shows. So we can give that to them and they're free to do their own designs. We give them the drone. So I put an asterisk there because they're the ones who buy the drones. So that's what their upfront cost. But we basically just ship everything to them and they get them up and running. It's pretty easy. What we get in return for that. So our model is going to be like a monthly fee plus percentage of revenue. But what we also get from that is really a rapid prototyping opportunity. So when you talk about some of these big competitors, and they're maybe doing 3 shows a year, think about like the lessons that you might be able to learn each time you do a show, and you're only doing 3. So we have a couple operations like this up and running, we'll be doing a show a week. Like imagine how quickly you can learn from mistakes and how quickly you can improve your technology doing that. And it gives us a global reach that would take years to achieve if you just had a single operation. So we're going to be able to do that much, much more quickly than other people. But I think the really exciting thing is the community that we all get from that. And so we're all sharing the lessons learned, and that's from operations, what crowds like, what worked, what didn't. We can share performances, and whether that's maybe like a selling market or it's just like a full-on sharing market or sharing of shows in between organizations. And it also gives you the ability to scale it up. So if someone wants a massive show, you don't have to spend the money to get like 1,000 new drones. You can just combine a couple operations together. It really opens up a lot of doors there. And it gives you a barrier to entry. So if you think of someone looking for a show like this and they're choosing between us and a competitor, we've got a community of people that have a massive catalog of shows that can have huge savings on design costs. So I think this is going to be a really big thing to make it a lot harder to get into this industry. So as far as a team, I've got myself, I've got a master's in aerospace engineering and economics. For 6 years I was working at Honeywell Aerospace. Before this, project management certified. Hugh Liu is a professor in aerospace engineering at U of T, so he's the founder of the company. I did my master's with him, that's how we kind of got it all started. Henry's another ex-student of his, so he's the one who's really designed the system. And we've got Hong as our CFO. So those are our sort of core team. We've got about 4 full-time paid employees right now. And just to give you a bit of a timeline of how we sort of got started, we had a bit of a non-traditional start. So we actually started with about $500,000 in seed funding and did various different R&D projects, usually related to multi-drone control and coordination. And then we were sort of focusing on that, but then around like beginning of 2016, we sort of realized, okay, we're sitting on this technology and like it's almost ready to go, and we should really make a go of it ourselves. And that's what we decided to do. It took us a while to get up and running, finalize the technology, and get permission to do this stuff. But we did our first show last fall, and then we did a 60 drone show in Beijing, really excited about. And then we had our first paid show in Canada just after that. And then obviously it gets a little cold for events in Canada, and so really since May is when we've really been ramping up. So we opened up our first U.S. operation, so they've been shows for Toyota, Art Prize, so they've got up and running to a nice start. We did a 3-week stretch of shows for the PME in Vancouver, So night after night, the exact same shows, perfect use for this technology. We came out with the MVP version of our design software, so very excited. We're seeing that as a big part of our growth moving forward. And then I just got back from Kuwait last week, so we did the grand opening of the new Four Seasons Hotel there. So really, really excited about the trajectory that we're on right now, but we do want to ramp this up because we want to make this really a big, big thing. So that's moving forward. So testimonials, I mentioned we did shows for the Four Seasons and the P&E. We did a string of shows at Ontario Place this summer, but some of the testimonials we've got from our clients have been great. So things like, exceptional, astonishing, and amazed, highly original. But I think my favorite quote that we've gotten so far is that technology can be beautiful. Aeronautics proved that to be true. So I love that quote. So as far as our projections, it's a pretty simple projection model that I'm going to show you, but I just want to give you a sense of how quickly that we can ramp up the revenue on this one. So what we've been able to do in Canada is around like $50,000 a month, which I don't think is, Canada's not the best market for this, so I think that can be improved on, but $50,000 a month per operation. If we open up 6 new operations next year, and then 12 the following, and then 24 the following after that, we can get up to $20 million in revenue in just a few years. So just to give you a sense, I know it's a simple model, but that's the kind of projection that is possible with this model, franchising it out. So what we're looking for is $300,000 in funding in return for 15% equity. And what we're going to do with that is prove that we're the right team to make this happen, and that the model that we're going after is the right one to take this technology to the rest of the world. So we're going to spend that money is mostly on sales, so finding the right markets to expand to, getting the operations up and running, and getting them doing lots and lots of shows, and then the staff to support that. So we have people dedicated for operations, and then people dedicated to just designs. So that's what we're going to be spending on. So our current status, we're the first one in Canada to do this, first and only ones. We're the second ones in the US after Intel. We were just recently the first ones in Kuwait to do this, and we've done about 280,000 in performances since May, and about $500,000 in proposals that are out right now. Got great media attention from all the events that we've done. Really helps us get the events following that up after that. That's about it. So thanks very much. My name's Edward Finley. We're Aeronautics, and we're going to be the future of fireworks and so much more. Thanks so much.
That was good. Thank you. You don't get the mic.
All right.
Malcolm, you want to start?
Excellent presentation. I teach at York, so I know the building well, and it's an awesome place. So you're giving yourself a $2 million valuation, which seems steep. You had $500,000 in seed money that came in. Well, what happened to that money, and what was the initial investors' expectations for it?
So the initial... Sorry. Right, go.
So that's a kind of a big question in terms of if you want other people to put money in, it's like, well, what happened to the first people? Secondly, I don't really see in terms of, so it's a franchise model. I mean, your projections are way too, your line is way too flat. I mean, it's either, it has to look exponential. This idea of linear growth is not going to make any sense. And I'm not really understanding if I engage in the franchise operation with you. I mean, if I don't pay, what do you do? So that's because I've bought the drones, and I've got the training, and I've got the software, and so I'm concerned about that. So I like the idea, and I like you in terms of your belief and passion about it, but I'm just seeing a whole bunch of holes there in terms of from a business model.
Angelo?
Hey, Everett. Good job, and congratulations on a good show in Kuwait. I was anxious to find out how things went there, so kudos. A few things that I'd like to provide you some feedback in. And it's always, I always like to hone in on what is a company's differentiation in the marketplace, and how do they stack up relative to the others. So one thing that could really help when you talk about your key differentiators are being the reusability and the scale and the shareable aspects of your technology. You should highlight why isn't those capabilities achievable from the other players that are already in the marketplace? What makes it so difficult for them not to replicate that capability that you have. You may have found this really unique niche, but how long will you maintain that niche without others replicating it? I think the 450K in your pipeline, those are really good things. It would be also good to quantify the 450K that's in your pipeline. Are those repeatable type of shows, or are they one-off type of shows? And I'd like more clarification on your revenue source, like the monthly fee and the percentage of revenues. To what degree are you looking at the operations or franchisees having to give up in order to make it not only profitable for you, but most importantly, they've got to make money, or else they're not going to be there in the long haul.
Harlan?
Yeah, I think both Malcolm and I've probably covered some of the things that I wanted. My question I wanted to ask was a little bit more on the franchise. Do you have actually any franchisee right now? No, sorry. Okay, so the question was about the franchisee, just in terms of the training. Are they going to be trained with the certification? How are they going to be certified within the market space so that individuals that's going to be using them are going to know that they are actually equipped to do what they're doing? You showed some of the shows that you've done in terms of the testimonials as well, and I'm just curious to know if you have long-term contracts with those individuals, if it's going to be repeatable. And my question is too, is what's going to stop any competition from, and I think Angela already touched on that, but in terms of competition, you talk about Intel and some of the things that they're doing, and they're the biggest. And so you're the first in Canada. And the question is that, are you going to sort of lay the groundwork for others just to allow you to get the market started, and then they're going to come in and take over from you? So what are some of the things that you're going to do to maintain the fact that you're going to still be the number one in Canada and be able to prevent competition from coming in and taking over once you've established the market?
Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. There you go. Any questions from you guys?
My name's Gary, and the question is, what happens if you want to do this in a no-fly zone? So, for example, right here in Ajax is a no-fly zone. What happens if we want to do a show, but you can't due to the no-fly zone restrictions?
So yeah, we've developed a really good relationship with Transport Canada, and so we have like a standing approval to do anywhere in Ontario and a couple other places across the country outside of restricted fly zones. If we are within one, then we just need to get NAV Canada and Transport Canada's approval to do that. And so we've done a lot of shows that are within restricted airspace. We just need to basically give them a heads up, and it depends on like how far away from the airports we are, what angle we are with respect to the takeoff, and like the runways and stuff like that. So I mean, we've done stuff like very close to Billy Bishop and Buttonville, for instance. So it's sort of like a case by case basis.
Your software. So you're hosting.
There, one second.
Oh, your software. What's the ease of use? And if somebody wanted to host an event and actually design the event, is the software going to be very quickly they develop it, or does somebody for your company have to work along to
Are you asking about like when you say software? Are you talking about like the
software for the actual show?
Like the design, like the creative side of things? Yeah. So like right now, like up until this point, we've been doing it kind of brute force. We've just been kind of writing our own code using MATLAB. But we've just had our sort of MVP version of a more user-friendly thing, and the motivation for that is to really get that in the hands of more creative people than a bunch of aerospace engineers that have a terrible sense of what's entertaining. And so it's getting easier. Up until this point, it would usually be like us working with a client and talking about a creative vision and what they want to see, and then us programming it up and then maybe give them a simulation for feedback and that kind of thing. But we're hopefully improving that. Yeah.
And that's the show's choreographed with music. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and is that music going to be broadcast like over the phone or anything like that, or is it
broadcast over the phone. I mean, we usually tie into like a speaker system that's there at events, or we can bring in our own too if required. Yeah.
How you doing?
Hi,
My
good.
name's Jason. I really like what you're doing there.
Thank you.
Questions. There's 3 questions for you. First one is, I'm not sure I quite caught what your intellectual property is in this. So what do you have in this that's different than the other guys are doing in the space?
Sure. I mean, we have a couple of patents that are filed and a couple that are pending. So it revolves mostly around like the communication between the drones and the ground station, and then how they are coordinated in flight. I don't think that our systems are substantially different than, say, Intel's in terms of how they work or like what's possible. So, I mean, I'm not an expert in patent law, so I'm not sure how exactly that's going to work. But we have been patenting things along the way, and then a lot of that stuff is just going to be proprietary, right? I mean, you can patent sort of like the big picture of it, but the real what really goes into the firmware that runs on the drones, like that's a lot of really little stuff that we don't bother patenting. And that's stuff that we just keep really close to our chests. And then when we talk about like franchising it out, that's something that the franchisees don't see. So they get to see the drones and they kind of get how they work, but they never get to see the source code, for instance, to understand how any of that works. So it's kind of a mix of getting patents and a lot of proprietary stuff.
So that protocol between the drone and the controller. So one of the things that came to me, as soon as something like this becomes pervasive, as with everything else, someone's going to try and find a way to hack into it and wreck it, right? So in the middle of a show, someone's going to come after it. So what are you looking at in terms of security and whatnot to maybe prevent something like that?
Sure. I mean, we haven't really been focusing very hard on the security up to this point. I think if you guys have, anyone in the audience has maybe sort of paid attention to the drone industry, there was a drone that got hacked a while ago and they got taken over. But I mean, they did the same thing. They hacked a car, they took it over, and so I think in the case of the drone that was hacked, they had access to the firmware of that drone. Like it was available to people who were using it, so they got to see how what would be required to take it over. Whereas with us, no one ever has access to that, so it's not like someone could potentially take them over, that kind of thing. So down the line, it's something that we're going to need to think about, but for the certainly the near future, it's not really on our radar as a big concern.
And real quick, just the third question, if I could, just based on the question the gentleman in front of me asked. So you talked about Transport Canada and Nav Canada and whatnot. What do you do with the rest of the world? So if you're franchising this out to everybody else, is it up to them to get regulatory approval in their respective countries, or do you guys manage that?
It's very region specific. So for instance, like our operation in the US, like it made a lot of sense for them to get FAA approval because they had been working in that industry for a number of years and had developed a good relationship with them. Every region is a bit different, and so it's mostly helping. Like they will get the approval because we're typically going to work with drone operators that have experience with that. But it's going to be taking the framework that we've developed and getting approvals in Canada and the U.S. That you can what it takes to appease the regulators. So everyone's going to be a little bit different, but they're all similar, and so we're developing a framework to make that a lot easier.
Hi, my name's Kevin. So I have a couple questions about who the customer is, and how do they actually go and buy? Like, do they typically buy directly from a specialized company, or do they go through an entertainment supplier to get that?
Yeah, so event production companies are who we typically work with. So event production companies, or if there are people within an organization that are responsible for putting on events. So like, for instance, we've done some stuff for like different municipalities around, and they will have like an events team that we would sell to. Or for big events like our one in like Kuwait, for instance, like they had a third party that did the event production work, and so we were hired by them.
So I guess the question then is, why have you settled on a franchise strategy instead of a kind of channel business development strategy?
Well, the franchise model is really because it's so expensive and time-consuming to ship this equipment all over the world. So, if you think of like the potential market as like this giant pyramid, right? We have the Super Bowl at the top, and then it scrolls down, and then the smaller events, like there's a massive market of events that can't necessarily afford Super Bowl pricing, but that can afford smaller shows, and really that becomes a lot more accessible when you don't have to pay, say, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in like logistics of just getting people around and paying for hotels and all that stuff. So that's the real motivation for getting like model or operations all around the world is a cost saving one. But it doesn't mean that we're not approaching event production companies in each of those individual regions as potential customers. So, I mean, I don't think the sales strategy really changes. I mean, you'll have like a central one, and then each operation will be, responsible for some of their own sales, but we're still appealing to the same customers. I'm not sure if I can answer your question, but.
Okay, that was great. Thank you, man.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, we couldn't get to all the questions. If you do have other questions, you need to hold it up higher. It's not very good. This one or this one? That's a much better one. It is. I agree. This was only to offset for the. All right. I'll try. All right. Next up, James.
Thank you. Hi, I'm James from Amina Health. We have a device to measure vitamin deficiencies from a single drop of blood, combining at-home diagnostics and personalized nutrition. We recently changed our name. You might have seen us pitch before at some point or the other under the name as Vitameter. The story starts when I was in my undergrad. I was doing a research project at Harvard Medical School. It was a short 8-month project, and I wasn't getting paid much or really anything at all. So to help pay rent, I was volunteering for clinical trials, which is sort of like selling your body for science. Very interesting, fun. Would recommend you guys try it out once or twice. One of those trials was the effect of vitamin D on heart health. And so after getting screened for that, they said, hey, congratulations, you're eligible for the rest of our study, come on in. Of course, the only reason I was eligible is I was extremely vitamin D deficient. And they said, hey, look, you're a young guy. If you don't fix this, you're going to have these symptoms in the next few years. Of course, one of the symptoms is poor bone health. And I'd actually broken a bone the year prior. Sorry? I'd actually broken a bone the year prior. And I'd always seen, and still do, see vitamins as something that's really over-marketed. But I thought that if I needed to take vitamins, my doctor would tell me I would have very acute symptoms, or I'd have some sort of medical condition that I would be aware of. However, also, being winter in Boston, and being a nerd, and never going outside, it was not, it's totally believable that I would have a vitamin D deficiency. Of course, the question that I have to ask next is, well, then what do you do? The obvious answer is, well, take vitamin D pills. Okay, well, what brand, how many, what dose? And that's the question, and really the passion behind what we're doing that millions of people face when they go into a pharmacy and there's an entire aisle dedicated to vitamins. And it's incredibly hard to determine what brand, what dose, what ingredients. Even if you're someone like me and I know that I'm vitamin D deficient, how do I know when it's actually working? For vitamin D and other vitamins, it can take weeks or months to build up, back up to healthy levels in your blood. Now, unfortunately, the $38 billion vitamin industry is full of misinformation and fear-mongering as brands are using this confusion to push their products. And that's what we're trying to solve. At Amina Health, we're making the information needed to screen and manage vitamin deficiencies readily available. We've done this by designing a system that allows you to assess your vitamin levels, track them over time, and take only the vitamins you actually need. Now, right now, you would have to go to your doctor. Well, first you'd have to make an appointment, then sit in the office, then get a full venous blood draw, and wait weeks for your results. It's too inconvenient, impractical, and in the US, you're actually paying a copay of around $25 just to see your doctor. Many of you might know that in Ontario, vitamin D tests are no longer covered, so you're paying out of pocket for that. But the fact of the matter is it's too inconvenient and impractical to frequently monitor your vitamin levels and actively manage your vitamin intake. But by taking the same chemistry that's done in a laboratory test and shrinking it down into a format that's easy to use, we can forego these trips to the doctors, the large venous blood draws, and the long wait times. The user inserts a small drop of blood into a disposable test cartridge which they then insert into the electronic reader. Within a few minutes, the result appears on the display, and that information is sent to their smartphone, where they can order the appropriate vitamins right to their doorstep and get recommendations on what that level means and how to improve their diet and their health. Now, the revenue model is, it's been compared to a Keurig or a Gillette razor model, where we sell the device at close to the cost of production at $99, while making recurring revenue on packs of test cartridges at $5 a piece, while vitamins form a additional source of high margin revenue at around $35 a month, either on a one-off basis or a subscription. Oh, actually, and what I want to point out is that for someone who's testing frequently, so a couple times a month, and who has a need to take those vitamins, so is taking vitamins every month, they can easily bring in annual recurring revenue of over $400 a year, which means that we need to target the people who struggle the most with vitamin deficiencies and are the highest risk. So those include the 18 million people who have iron deficiency in North America, many of which have already been diagnosed with iron deficiency-caused anemia, the 44 million with people with osteoporosis or osteomalacia, who know they need to keep track of their vitamin D intake so their condition does not worsen. Then there are 18 million people who choose to follow a vegan or vegetarian diet, which may be a very, very great ethical choice, but we actually get a lot of our vitamins from meat. So they put themselves in additional risk for vitamin deficiencies from B12, iron, and actually vitamin D. Of course, half of the population is taking vitamin pills without the guidance needed to determine whether or not they're effective, or if they're just wasting money, or if they're actually doing damage to their body by taking more. I started this with my co-founder Niroshan, who's actually in the same lab as me at Harvard Medical School. Together with our friend Bobby, we founded the company. We've since expanded our team to 6 full-time employees plus 2 Waterloo co-ops, so full 8 desks, and a number of part-time people or other people that contributed to a very complex product that I don't have up on my slides here. But as a team of engineers and scientists out of the University of Waterloo and the University of Toronto, we're working very hard to make this, or to bring this to market. I'm really proud to announce that as of the end of December, we completed our first batch of production quality units. This is a very important milestone for a device like ours. Not only does it show that technology works, but while this batch was only 5 units, the design is such that we can order 100 or 1,000. And that puts us in a position to scale. So right now, we're using these 5 units. We're putting them in the hands of users and watching them use the device and walking them through the process. Take a step back. We founded this company in 2015. At the beginning, it was just me, Niroshan, and Bobby in a laboratory at the University of Waterloo. And for the first year and a half, all we did was just prove out the proof of concept and the technology behind our sensor. It was only last summer that we got our first investment, which really accelerated that progress, but we also hit some major milestones that allowed us to start building the device and the hardware around the sensor. We had actually had this previous design before. We had completely scrapped that and started over with the guidance of some really great people who we'll talk about soon. With the last milestone, we're now focused on alpha trials. This is kind of a little off topic, but if you know anybody who's in the customer segments that I talked about earlier, especially people who have been diagnosed or struggle with chronic iron deficiency caused anemia, we'd love to have you be part of our first. Yeah, great. We're recruiting people right now in Ontario as part of our first release of the product before going through regulatory approvals, doing a full launch to market, market launch with the aid of our dietitian partners and by targeting online communities of the conditions that I mentioned earlier. Then we'll scale fully into retail, so pharmacies, anywhere someone can buy vitamins, we can provide a method that they can use to screen themselves to see if they really need what they're buying and if it's working. When we first started, we actually took the entire team all the way over to Berlin, participated in an accelerator program run by Bayer Healthcare. Last year we got an investment from a VC in San Francisco, Bolt. They're a hardware-focused fund, and they focus on taking what we were, which was a really, at that time, crappy-looking prototype, a lot of wires and everything, kind of hanging out, into something we have today, which is really a product with the user experience in mind, but also the manufacturing process. We are very lucky to have support from the University of Waterloo, especially the Velocity Science program, which specializes in taking technologies that are coming out of the university and providing a space and support to commercialize them. We've only raised around $600,000 Canadian, and I say only because for a technology and a device as complicated as this, that's quite an achievement. And the only reason we've been able to do that is by relying very heavily on our partners, the professors, and those in our network to provide the equipment and expertise that we needed to get this far. And of course, we're happy to be here today pitching to you. To reiterate, we've recently completed our first functional MVPs that are production quality. We're currently recruiting for field tests. We have almost 200 people, or over 200, people signed up in the Ontario region to be alpha testers. Right now we have 30 that are actually using the device, and we have 70 dietitian partners both in the US and Canada who are excited about pushing out to their users, many of which are part of the core market segments I talked about earlier. We've also recently got IRB approval through the University of Waterloo that allows us to run these studies legally. And as I mentioned, we're fundraising with the mind, we're looking for 500K, so around what we had raised previously, and this is to support our the equipment costs, so we can push out hundreds of these devices in part of our alpha trials. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. Marlon, do you want to start?
Thank you, James. Enjoyed the presentation, and I think the device that you're bringing out is a very interesting device. It's probably quite needed. Just a couple of questions that came to mind is that most people are used to going to the doctors to get the blood tests. And so how are you going to change that mindset where individuals are going to, because most people will know that they have vitamin deficiency, and how are you going to change that mindset for them to bypass the doctor and then go to your device to use your device, was it 4 times a year for the blood tests? Sorry, no, sorry. So that's one of the main question I asked. How are you going to change that mindset in terms of marketing to hit the number of people that you need to hit based on the different categories of deficiencies that you're looking at? And secondly, I saw something there about subscription, the monthly subscription for vitamins. And the question is, what's going to make your vitamins different that they're going to actually want to have a monthly subscription when they could probably go to any regular health and wellness place to pick up vitamins? So how are you going to put all that together to make them decide to go with you for testing and then actually bought into the fact that to go to get the vitamins from you as well and bypass their doctor?
Great. I've seen you before. You've pitched in front of us ages ago, I think. Yeah. So there are a few questions, and I want to reiterate the $99 per unit coupled with the $5 per cartridge. I like the quote razor blade model in that sense. Not too clear on the $25 subscription per month. I think you'll meet a significant amount of resistance in the marketplace from the juggernauts that are out there that can really prevent some progress, then I would recommend that you want to work with them as opposed to work against them, right? You touched on, I guess, at the various stages, the clinical trials and efficacy portion of it. I'd like to get a better handle, and it would be good in your presentation as to how long that will take and what are the criteria of determining whether it meets the efficacy of the community. Also, you asked for $500K to fund equipment costs. Didn't talk about what you're willing to give up, nor did you indicate what the valuation of the company was at the $600K from your previous injections. Is your valuation going up, coming down? And what is the value from an investment point of view? How long will it take us to see our return on that investment? Last point, are you focused specifically in the vitamin D area, and can you expand that to other areas? And what your roadmap is long-term on moving and transitioning from one vertical to the next?
No, I was just thinking this is a disadvantage of coming last. You're a really smart guy, and I think this is really cool, but I don't see it as a business. To Angelo's point about you're presenting the story, and it's a fantastic story. But as you were describing it, I'm thinking, all right, I'm diabetic, and I do the pinprick, and I get my blood tested. I do that every day. If I'm on the vitamin side, though, you didn't communicate to me how big an issue this is. I mean, I understand that there is a need, but how compelling a need is there that I would want to fork out $400 a year? So there's a lot of things that people find interesting, but then when you go to say to them, okay, give me the money, there's a huge disconnect there sometimes. From a business model perspective, just to echo Angelo's comments, I didn't really get a sense as to, you weren't presenting the business case. So if I give you this much money, how long is it going to be, what is it going to be used for? Is there going to be another round? And as soon as you start from an investor perspective, as soon as you start mentioning regulatory, little hairs on the back of people's neck go up, because the corporate and the investor graveyard is filled with people that have tried to make money going down a regulatory path. Now, I'm not saying that you were saying that you need FDA approval, but if that's not the case, then you want to change the words you use, because as soon as you say regulatory, people go, long time, waste, a lot of dollars being burned on that path. I love your presentation in terms of the slides and the style that you have. Very Apple-y, very TELUS-like, clean looking. So that's really good. And I think you're really compelling, but I think you're smart technically, but not so savvy on the business front.
Okay. Thank you, guys. There you go. Okay, any questions from the audience? All right, one sec.
Hi, Chris. I think there is definitely a business for this. I'm somebody that needs to take vitamins, and I've just taken what the doctor told me, and I've been doing the same for a year. I have no idea. I could be lowering my volume or raising it. I think with the vitamin purchase part of it, because I take vitamin D, it costs you about $9 every 2 months. If that's the only thing I needed from your results, unless you're going to force me to, with the machine, to buy the $25, I think if you had different, it's $25 for this multi or whatever, but if you only needed certain things, maybe you have different price points in there that you can compete with the marketplace to stop me from just going to Shoppers Drug Mart and doing it. And also the little machine, if I had one, can my whole family use it, or is it only for one person?
Yeah, your whole family can certainly use it. As far as your other comments, and to kind of touch on what you said, our ideal person is actually someone who has been to the doctor and has done initial screening, is aware that that deficiency is an issue. For both vitamin D, iron, and B12, those are the ones that we're really interested in, because those are the ones that have significant deficiency rates in a Western population. Because for like someone like yourself and myself, for vitamin D, if you're extremely deficient, like I was, you're recommended to take 4,000 to 6,000 IUs for the next, say, 2 to 3 months. And that's comparison to a multivitamin will have 400 IUs. And actually, if I don't take 3,000 to 4,000 IUs every day, then I see my vitamin levels start dropping. And that's because if you do need vitamins, then you really need to take a significant amount. And it all depends on why, I don't know why you're in that case, but for whatever reason, whether it's genetic or not going outside enough, for me, that's what you need, right? And then for vitamins, there's a question on how much of that's being absorbed compared to getting it from food. And you can do all that kind of guesswork, or you can just figure out how much has made it and tailor from there. As far as your other question, it's an excellent question because it's something we had to think about a lot. Also, whether or not to say vitamin with an existing brand, the price point. $25 is the price point for a premium vitamin brand. We give you the exact concentration so it's vitamin D, it's 25 hydroxy in your blood, and we put that in perspective. So there's nothing to stop you from going to Costco and getting the value vitamins, and we know that. And we're not going to use any trickery to try to make you, to try to loop you in. So if you're someone who is already loyal to another vitamin brand, or you're going to go to the value route anyway, then we likely can't, or it's harder to capture that person, and it's hard to compete with Costco or wherever you're getting your vitamins on price. What we can do though is, and I think it was you that mentioned the juggernauts in the vitamin space. Vitamin space is really interesting because no brand owns over 5% of the market, and it's extremely overcrowded. So even the bigger brands like Life Vitamins don't actually have as much weight as people think they do. And one of the reasons is there's 2 big vitamin companies that actually make vitamins, DSM and BASF. They sell all their vitamins in bulk to contract manufacturers in the vitamin space, who then the brands use to create their vitamins. And so we're just in contact with them. We've gotten quotes for what it would take for them to formulate, press, package, stick our label on the same vitamins that a lot of these other brands are producing. And through them you determine quality and a lot of other aspects about that. But one of the problems in the vitamin space is realistically, they're not well regulated, but there's not too much difference between the different pills that you're taking. So we have the unique opportunity to actually compete on something that no one else can right now, which is the mixture. And that's something that we've seen companies try to do. The best approach is a multivitamin, right? Men's health multivitamin, women's health multivitamin, because that's the mixture that's supposedly tailored to you. But we can go a step farther, and that gives us a unique opportunity in a vastly overcrowded space. And I think any space like that, it's going to be some sort of technology that comes in and disrupts it. I hope that answered.
Okay, good. That was a good question. Next time I'm cutting you in half.
Hey James, great presentation. Thanks for the time. My name is Ashwini Baska. I'm actually part of Spark Angel with Malcolm and Angel as well. And I do have a small investment in a nutraceutical company back in the US. So I do know a little bit about this space. So first question, are you going to become a medical devices company? Is this a medical device?
Yeah. So, and bring back to the regulatory, we are regulated under the FDA as a medical device.
And so is this like a hardware play or is this a services play? Are you trying to sell vitamins or are you trying to sell the device itself?
Yeah, I mean, so the foundation from what we're building is a hardware play, or it's a hardware product. But the revenue, and when you look at the financial projections, it goes back to the vitamins and being able to have a foothold in this $1 billion market where everyone's just competing on, as I said, really in brand and this perception. So when you look at where the most of the money comes from, vitamins are the strongest source of profit. For us to, we can charge someone $25. To actually get those vitamins made is around $2.
Okay, one last question.
So before my question, I'll just mention what you were just talking about. I sort of, in my head, view you as diagnostic as a service. Like it's not, I'm not buying the hardware. I don't care about the hardware. And I also don't, if I'm sort of semi, maybe I need vitamins and I'm not so tailored and stuff, it's not about vitamin play. It's about the diagnostic. Like, am I okay or not in the amount of vitamins I need? So I think if you think around it as a diagnostic as a service model, then maybe that'll help formulate the business or convey what we're trying to do. My question is around, you had mentioned something about going into retail, I think, or through shoppers or pharmacies. And if you're trying to sell the vitamin, like you're not promoting as a diagnostic service, but you're trying to sell the vitamins and you have hardware that you're selling basically at your cost, I don't see what's in it for them. Like, who's going to want to carry your product? Because you're just going to, they see the customer is not buying their vitamins off the shelf,
it's tricky,
and they're not making money off the hardware. So, anyways, that's the problem. So.
Yeah, it's a good question. I can say I don't get that question enough, I'm surprised I don't get it more often. It's tricky, and luckily we're not the only people with, I wouldn't say a problem, but a situation like this. So for instance, I don't know where this recording is going, so I can't say too much, but there's other products that are kind of in a similar basis where they're sold in stores and they have some sort of app or other subscription-based revenue. And what you have to end up doing is working out a revenue share for that subscription. So if our device is sold in, say, a Walmart, then that device has a certain ID, and any of the vitamins that came out of that device, we have to pay back a certain margin. So that's one way to do it. The other thing is,
if it's a diagnostic of the service, then at least if I'm selling, I say, okay, here, diagnose yourself, see how many vitamins you need, and then hopefully if I'm giving them good service, they come back.
Yeah. And they've been interested in that. And like comparables for ours, there's a glucose monitor, although that's probably not the best comparable. In the States, cholesterol tests and A1C tests are a lot more common, especially in pharmacies. They're sold both over the counter in a box, and also as a test done by the pharmacist. So that is another option.
And it sounds like you might be dipping into that old model. Was it the CD thing when, I don't know, it was like 40 years ago, but you could order CDs and they would send them to you? So now what you do is you set it up to do it around the same concept around vitamins. It was around, you could just actually send them the stuff, and then they'll go through the list saying, hey, I need this, boom, 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 send the rest back.
Yeah.
So you're creating a model where you're already learning what they're going to need, and you send it to them right away.
Yeah, there's the data aspect that, like, the reason we charge that amount for vitamins is we're providing convenience and tailoring. But then there's not a lot known right now on how well that's absorbed, and the data that you can collect by having continual data points over a single person, and then also correlating that vitamin brand. So whether or not that becomes something that we can use to our advantage or not, we'll see.
I think so.
But it's foreseeable that you can say that one reason you can push your product over another is you kind of have that data, so that recommendation on what to take would be more accurate. But I'll withhold from making a strong claim on that until the evidence comes in.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So we have a quick question, and Malcolm, you get to start with it. So is there an optimal time I should start raising money? I get this question all the time, and I'm sure you can go to the main basics. I have no money. I need to raise money. But is there somewhere where you're planning ahead, or what do you think? I'll let you take it.
The best time to raise money is when you can clearly and compellingly talk about what the problem is, why people care about it, and how you're going to fill it. And therefore what you need that money to do in order to solve that problem. Too many times people will have a cool story, but I always look at it from the perspective of if I can't clearly envision why somebody, a stranger, would on a repeated basis pull their wallet out to solve the problem that you say that you can solve, I just don't see it as investment viable.
Okay. Angela?
I echo all of the items that Malcolm said, so now I'm falling into your trap. And I look at it from a couple of perspectives. When you can demonstrate that the marketplace really understands the problem that you're trying to solve and that they're willing to pay something for it, then you start to get to the position of having a case to ask Malcolm to open up that wallet of his that has a huge wad of money inside. The one thing that I would recommend you don't do, and you use it on your tagline, I've used it as my mantra for quite a while, really be selective and strategic. Don't go out chasing money for the sake of chasing money, and actually concentrate more time on chasing that 1 to 2 customer, because as soon as you've done that, the ability to actually attract investment becomes so much easier. And it's and I know that it's an easy thing to say, but really it's worth the time and the investment because of the returns that it actually brings to you. So those are the items that I look at.
I like it. Marlon, any comments?
I think those are great answers from angel investors because they are on that side. But as an old school entrepreneur, I always believe that the best time to raise money is when you don't need it, because when you do need it, you can't find it. But realistically, though, I think the best thing to do is that to be sure about what the money is going to be used for, how you're going to be able to make money in return so that that could be paid off. So from an entrepreneur, just make sure how it's going to be used and make sure it's going to make money.
Oh, appreciate it. Thanks, guys. So to reiterate, when you guys are looking for money, it's double mic thing. When you're looking for money, the first thing is, of course, it's learning what you're going to be doing with the money, figuring out what you can do with the money, but then hyper-focusing on how am I going to get that angel group or that person to invest in me. Focus on them, because when you do close that first one, it starts to work in your favor and trickles into the next one. When you try to do the buckshot spray, you'll tend to get probably less back from it. And then you kind of get known in industry where you're bouncing around trying to find dollars, which means that you're looking too hard for money, and everybody else might then see it as an advantage. So you do want to be very strategic about what you're going for and how you're doing it. And if you don't close and you don't get the first one, figure out why you didn't get it. Ask questions, and then solve your own problem and move forward. All right, so we're going to have Mark come up, and he's going to talk about now how he's going to help you get that money faster.
Thanks. So I was asked to come and give a quick introduction to IRAP, the Industrial Research Assistance Program at NRC. I don't know how many of you have heard of NRC before. Okay, some. Who am I? Oh, yes, Mark Whittle. I was getting to that. That's
feedback number 1.
I'm Mark Whittle. I'm an industrial technology advisor, or ITA, with IRAP. So NRC is the Canadian government's a federal organization for science and research. It's not about setting policy or science policy. It's actual people in a lab doing research, and it's spread across the country in numerous labs. Of course, they have buildings in Ottawa as well, and there's, I think, of around 3,700 employees at NRC, and probably 80 to 90% of them are actual researchers. IRAP is a program that's a part of NRC, and our job is to work with small, medium enterprise companies in Canada, helping them overcome their innovation challenges. So, as I mentioned, we have ITAs like myself covering every postal code in Canada. So we station locally all across Canada, working locally on-site with small, medium enterprise companies. That means companies with 500 or less employees, and providing business and technical advisory services, as well as opportunities for funding. And we have various funding programs. that we can access. So our mandate is to stimulate wealth creation in Canada through innovation, but without reading all this and you memorizing it or anything, just know that we're there to help you overcome your innovation challenges. We can challenge you on your business as well and provide business advisory. We can look at the technology you're developing and see how you might overcome innovation challenges that you have in developing your technology, whether it's access to researchers or networking or linkages to other government organizations. We help on those innovation challenges. So if you're working on it, you have a business and you're doing innovation, then IRAP is an opportunity for you to engage and get advice as well as potential funding. The industrial technology advisors, like myself, that come on site and can work with you, most have at least 20 years experience and come from the private sector. So we, ourselves have in the past been entrepreneurs or run businesses, as well as have engineering degrees and can help understand what your technology innovation challenges are. And the ITA network has varying backgrounds. So I myself have a background in semiconductor and software, but my colleagues have backgrounds in manufacturing, in agriculture, people with chemistry degrees, etc. So it doesn't matter what area of business you're in, an industrial technology advisor can come, and then maybe if they don't necessarily have an answer for you right there, they can help network to the right people who can also help. And this I already mentioned, so the business and technical advice, referrals to other programs, linkages to resources and strategic intelligence as well. We do, so there's other opportunities for us to support you outside of funding. This talks about funding. For example, we can do a technology information search. So we can do searches around patents through our librarians in the library. We can look for research papers and help you find other information, market research reports, and things like that. So the funding breaks down into some major buckets. So first is we have our core funding, which is funding technology projects or innovation projects. So if the company is working on innovation and they have salaried employees and potentially some contractors working on R&D, then IRAP can provide some contribution towards the salaries that are being paid for those people. We also have youth employment programs. So if you're hiring people who are 30 years of age and under, who are new grads for the youth employment or just youth for our green program, for green economy jobs, we can contribute to that as well. And on the green funding, it ranges typically between $10,000 and $30,000 towards the salary of an employee. So it's pretty good for hiring youth. There's other varying programs that we have that we support, like CAPE, which is an accelerator program. And there are others like it that we can link you to, where you can receive support for your business activities. And I also want to highlight Concierge. You can find Concierge online at concierge.innovation.gc.ca. It's access to, not an ITA, but an IA, an innovation advisor, who can help you navigate all the varying government programs as well. So,
wrap you up now.
That's it?
5 minutes. Everybody's on a timer here.
Okay, yep, thanks. So I recommend if you want to get support from IRAP, you can reach out to us through our website or call the 1-800 number and you'll get connected to an ITA who will contact you within 2 business days.
Sweet. Thank you, sir. Guys, look for more.
Hey, we got to keep these things on a tight timeline. We'll be here all night if we don't. But you got lots of information, and Mark's working on lots of great stuff that can help you guys. Olaf, you're up, buddy.
Hi, I'm here to present Pitched. My story. I come from the UK. I moved to Canada because I love the outdoors. After having a couple of children, I wanted them to become part of the outdoors too. I wanted to bring them camping. I wanted to get them canoeing. I wanted to get them experience the wilderness that brought me to Canada and make me the person who I am. However, with a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, I soon found out that was pretty difficult to do. I wasn't able to find a campsite straight away. I had to book months in advance. There's a load of problems that I faced. So Pitched is the Airbnb for camping. We provide Canadians with a greater choice to explore the great outdoors. We provide private landowners with the opportunity to earn additional revenue from their land. From backyards to farms, vineyards to islands, Pitched makes camping easier. The problem. So after getting about 500 signups from campers through our pre-registration MVP I was running, I've quickly discovered that campsite discovery in Canada sucks. No one can find campsites. They can't go to a single place, look for a site, for a location on a date with the features that they want. They're also booked to capacity. You need to book a campsite by April in order to find a good site. They're also noisy because you don't know who's going to be turning up next door to you with their big RV, a big party of students coming. And also a lack of options for camping after Thanksgiving. Also, hotels and Airbnbs are becoming more and more expensive. So it's becoming a constraint for budget-conscious travelers. And as a host, traditional property rentals on services such as Airbnb are becoming very intrusive. You have to have someone in your home. You have to clean it. It doesn't have to be this way. Solution. We're going to provide a site for users to find campsites easily. Hosts can earn extra income from any camper that they allow to stay on their property. Campers can discover and reserve the sites easily based on what matters most to them and their family or their friends where they want to go camping. We aim to delight the camper, offering them equipment rentals through the host, weather reports and packing lists as the date approaches. And also, as a host, you get to meet like-minded people, sit around a campfire with people and discuss your open ideas. The opportunity. 22% of Canadian adults go camping every year. That equates to 5.7 million adults. The camping industry is worth $4.7 billion in Canada. And the sharing economy is expected to grow 24 times by 2025 to a value of $335 billion. To put that into perspective, Ontario parks, just for the months of July and August, take 530,000 nights booking in the top 20 parks. That equates to $21 million in revenue for those 2 months and $1.7 million in reservation fees. The business model. We'll charge 10% on all reservations, which is charged to the hosts upon payment collection. Future revenue opportunities exist through the upsell of camping product and services to both the host and camper. So traction to date. As I mentioned before, I've got a pre-registration sign-up page and I'm running a bunch of marketing campaigns through my own funding. And I've been surveying the users who come up. I've had, from the survey results, an average camper spends 20 nights camping per year. Each host wants to accommodate about 6 tents or RVs on their property. And they also, a camper is willing to pay on average $40 per night. Through the marketing efforts, I've been able to acquire campers at $1.30 and a host at $4.30. To date, I've had over 500 camper sign-ups and 50 host sign-ups in just 2 weeks. So my go-to-market strategy, I plan to not dilute the market, focusing on Ontario only. I'll be working with referral campaigns to get people to promote the service with their friends and family, and also promoting content heavily on social. As this is a new service, they will not understand the benefits of the service, so I'll need to educate the market quite heavily. Paid search is working really well for me right now, so I will continue that. So the customer. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I changed my marketing tactic to get hosts. I changed from targeting cottage and farm owners to targeting niche markets, people who like motorcycle touring, people who like cycle touring, people who like horseback riding, and who also like camping, and saying to them, why don't you host similar like-minded people on your property? Now that brought down my average cost per acquisition that I'd expected $80 to $4.30. I expected a customer as male and female and 35 to 65-year-old for the host, and anyone with a love for camping and RVing. So the team, as myself, I have 10 years experience. I'm a software engineer, but now moved into marketing and growth and business strategy. I'm an early employee at several successfully acquired startups and an avid outdoors enthusiast. I've had quite a lot of help from Jeremy and also Jeffrey, and I have been working closely with Brian, who's a friend of mine who has founded a successful startup, Lindsay Jeremiah, who I've worked with closely in the past, who's been helping me a lot on the content side, and I have some friends in Brazil who can help with the development work, and I have some mentors on the marketing and brand side as well. So here's the competition landscape. As you can see, it's quite heavily focused around the large campgrounds, hard discovery area. We want to break that, bring it out into private campgrounds, make it super easy to discover. The biggest competitor to us are HipCamp. They're based in the US and they're not targeting the Canadian industry at all. There are some private campsites listed on Airbnb, TripAdvisor, and Kijiji. However, those industries are not set up to look for those campers. You cannot search for campsites on those services. So my competitive advantage. With my background in computer science, marketing, and growth, I'm able to bring the market very rapidly. I'm able to bring the product to market rapidly and faster than any competition. We will be the first to market in Canada, which means we'll have a competitive advantage, and we can also hit the local customers. We'll have a strong camper first experience, so we'll be targeting them very closely. So we want to provide them a great experience from when the time they book all the way through to when they're sitting in front of the campfire. So after year one, I'm expecting 38,000 camping nights booked, with 14,000 campers registered on the site and 800 pitches available to book. This will equate to about $180,000 in revenue. I expect the two primary candidates for exits are Airbnb and TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor has made 26 acquisitions in similar industries recently. The revenue forecast for year 2, 800,000, year 3, 2.3 million, year 4, 4 million, and year 5, 5.8 million. The ask. I'm looking for $50,000 in equity financing based on a 750 valuation for marketing efforts and building out the initial product. And that will bring me through to start taking bookings in April when revenue starts coming in. So I hope to change the way Canadians can go camping together. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, thank you. Angela, you want to start?
Sure. How you doing? Good. Good. I like your presentation. You brought us through that journey, and you've also identified something that is very common in companies, and I would venture to say it's probably not your last, but you've described the pivot that you had to make. And all successful companies, if you look back at them, they've had to do several pivots before they really find their sweet spot. So the one thing I do like is your analysis on customer acquisition cost. That's a big thing for me. And it's the first one I've seen so far tonight, which is good. The one thing that you might want to consider is also tying in not only the customer acquisition cost, but also the lifetime value of that customer. So you can do an analysis of, is the return significant on based on your costs. Your refined business model, until you got to the last couple of slides, it wasn't clear to me that once you've refined your model and focused it in a particular segment, is there really enough revenues in that focus going from your larger scope? But later on in the presentation, you talked about how the scale of it. You might want to bring that in further as you're describing that refinement. And also describe how scalable it is. Now, although you see the 4 to 5x in terms of year over year, is this something that's going to be attractive enough for a takeout from companies such as Airbnb and so on? And from an investment point of view, that's what we really look for, right? Is the opportunity on someone taking you out because the potential is so significant. The one last question, I like the competitive analysis that you did, and you did identify one company that seems to be closest to you in terms of a competitor, and that was HipCamp. It would be good to identify how strong is HipCamp. Do some homework on what are their revenues, how much, what's that target that you're looking for? Are you looking at becoming the next HipCamp for Canada, where it's 1/10 of $1 million or $20 million? So those are a few points on that, but good job.
I love that. Great tagline. I love that whole Airbnb for camping. I mean, right then and there, you couldn't have more succinctly described what your business is, and in a way that just paints in anybody's mind that hears that statement exactly what it is that you do. Until you got to about the 5th slide, it wasn't clear to me that you were just, and maybe it was just me and I misheard, but it wasn't clear to me that you were just focusing on the private campground marketplace. And so as I was Googling while I was listening to you, and came across Camping Ontario, which is a directory for private campground sites, I was struck by the notion of, well, so what makes you different? And it seems to me that you have an answer to that. So, as with any person presenting, anytime you can anticipate what the question is going to be, you're much better off just circumventing that by saying, I know you're probably thinking about, and just, dealing with it in advance. It's difficult just to echo Angelo's perspective and to give anybody an idea as to an angel investor's mindset. When I look at things, I'm looking at a situation in which could I envision getting 3 to 5x in our money out in 3 to 5 years. Right? We don't want to be married to you. We just kind of want to be participating and help you along the way, and then get out and recirculate that money. And it has to be sufficiently large, and the amount of time it takes to do something for a $50,000 ask or a $500,000 ask isn't significantly different. So if it's too small, then it means from the investor's perspective, well, I would have to look at 10 times as many things for 50K as opposed to one thing for 500. And I missed the point about what makes your approach sort of defendable and growable, in terms of, are you in a situation where maybe you sort of put the toe in the water and validate the space, and that somebody else that's bigger comes along? I mean, what is the moat that you could put around your business idea. So I think you've got a lot of passion for this, and I love the tagline, but there's a lot for me that is just unanswered as to how you would take it from there.
Great presentation. I think Angelo and Malcolm has sort of covered most of these things on the investment side. I'm just sort of looking at it from a consumer side. I mean, obviously, I probably wouldn't be your ideal client because I'm a non-camper. But I like the idea that you sort of tailor it to touring groups. I guess the concern that I would want to know is why would they book with you? And you talked about the whole user's experience. But what is it that you're doing on your end that validate the sites for somebody that's going to be traveling across Canada and they're going to come into, say, on Ontario? They're going to go to a farm property that is private property. But what's going to be done to validate these private sites to make sure that they're safe, or that the people that are actually renting it out, that they actually own these properties, not because we hear that in Airbnb where people are renting a space that is not theirs. So what's to stop me from putting a picture up of a neighbor's farm and rent it out with you not knowing that I own that property? So just that's a concern I have from a consumer standpoint.
Okay, good. All right, audience, who has a question?
For the start, it's just going to be on the website, so I can iterate quickly, but there will be an app eventually. That's the plan. Yes. I haven't thought about that yet, but it would be app development, probably, well, after you build the site, which I would expect to release APIs to be able to build the app. It probably wouldn't take much time, probably 3-4 months or so. For pre-registrations, yes. There is no back end to it right now.
Anybody else? So from an overall traction standpoint, when you do launch and you start allocating spaces, do you need to API into government sites, scrape government sites, or anything to that effect to be able to build up the back end for getting as many spaces as you possibly can acquire? Or are you strictly private?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought was to go strictly private. However, to build out the back end, as you said, I have thought about connecting up to APIs. I've also thought about targeting campgrounds, smaller campgrounds, getting them on board just to build out their market as well, and offering them another service, another marketing channel for them to take revenue. So yes, there is another way of doing it.
And what have you found from your research? Have you talked to a couple clients and said, you know, would you parse out your space, and what's the excitement level? You said you did acquire some people that said they would do it. How many have been just random people that you called and said, hey, you know, is this something that really interests you and sign up for?
Yeah, I mean, all 50 of those people I don't know at all, so they're completely random people. They're really excited about it, especially when you connect to that emotional level where they share that passion of sport. So my marketing strategy has been, as I said, reaching out to people who love motorcycle touring, reaching out to people who love bike touring, and then sharing your space and sharing stories together. That has worked out well, and they do love that idea, and I've got some great feedback from them.
Is there any regulations that you have to follow in setting up a campsite like a campground has in the past? Because I know that there's a lot of places like Meal Home and a few others that we're working with that you cook meals for people in your home. So Health Canada stepped in to say, hey, wait a sec, something's going on here. But is there some sort of regulation you have to be careful of? Or?
Yeah, each municipality is different. Just like Airbnb, you can rent your property out, you can't rent your property out, depending on what city you live in. So you'd have to check out with your own municipality what the legal ramifications are on that.
Okay, one last question.
Yeah, I just got one question. Say you want to farm, and this is a good idea. I was just wondering what the impact is for insurance for a farm owner to have people come in and use the property, and how much would that offset the revenues that that farm would receive from people coming to this farm?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm working with some insurance companies to get some quotes on that right now. HipCamp offer $10,000 damage insurance. and $1 million liability insurance. So I aim to offer something similar to that.
So you're going to offer the insurance for the farm versus the farm having to get the insurance?
Yes, that's correct. However, if they're a commercial property, often we won't be covered under that policy. They'll have to have their own policy coverage.
So it's very similar to Airbnb. Exactly similar to Airbnb.
Exactly.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, thank you. Okay, our last group, Ribbit, Sana, Rabat.
Hi everyone, I'm Sana.
And I'm Rabat, and we are Ribbit. Ribbit is an aggregated loyalty platform for independently owned local businesses. Now, by local businesses, we mean independently owned businesses. So be it a coffee shop at Ajax or a spa in New York City, the 27 million local businesses in North America are the culture and feel of our neighborhoods. A new wave of consumers, especially the 100 million millennials, our largest consumer base, are actively committed to shopping and living local. But there is a major problem. These local businesses are challenged by bigger box stores. The Starbucks and McDonald's of the world are attracting tech-savvy consumers through their innovative digital platforms. Local businesses, on the other hand, are struggling with going digital because the current options available to them are fragmented.
So to give you an example of that, this is Lindsay. She's the owner of Amuse Coffee Company. She opened up her cafe 2 years ago, and as her business has grown, so have her marketing needs. To increase loyalty, she has paper punch cards. For discounts to attract new customers, she uses Groupon. And for her gift certificates, she still uses a paper-based gift certificate system, as well as an online gift buying website. All her efforts have the exact same objective: to get her existing customers to spend more and to attract new customers. But to do this, she spends hours managing multiple different channels, she spends monthly subscription costs, and has the added responsibility of getting her customers to join and use each of these channels.
Now, on the other hand is us consumers. As consumers, we have to engage with all these fragmented tools to do simple things like collecting points on our purchases, or purchasing a special offer, or sharing a gift card from a local shop like Amuse. But there is a bigger problem. Amuse is only one of the local businesses that we go to. There are hundreds of other businesses that we interact with on an everyday basis. Each local business has their own fragmented solution to manage special offers, gift cards, and rewards. What this means for consumers is we have limited space on our phones to download different kinds of apps. We have limited space in our wallets to carry different kinds of punch cards, and limited time at hand to navigate through or even care about all the options out there. This increasing number of fragmented tools used by independently owned businesses leaves today's consumers frustrated, and we do not end up using these tools as effectively as we should be.
And that's where we come in. We've designed Ribbit to be efficient for local businesses and friendly for consumers. As a consumer, you can now discover local businesses around you, collect points on every purchase, apply special offers, and buy and share gift cards with the tap of a button. And here's the best part. With every transaction that goes through the platform, consumers collect points that can be redeemed at any participating business. So think Air Miles, but for the independently owned. For the first time, we've aggregated local businesses under a shared loyalty program. Having all these different local businesses on one platform incentivizes consumers to join, because now they can get rewarded from all these places from a single touch point. And having this aggregated consumer base allows local businesses to attract consumers just like the bigger box stores do. Together, small local businesses have the power to be the biggest player in this market.
Now, there are lots of players in our space. There's WagJag, there's Vicinity, there's Groupon. There are POS players who play in rewards and the loyalty space. The list is long. Each one of these players is solving a niche need, but together they have created a bigger problem of clutter, fragmentation, and disconnect in the local business marketing space. Ribbit has 5 growth hacks that differentiates us from the competition and gives us scale like never before. For the first time, we're aggregating all the core offerings of local businesses, gift cards, special offers, and rewards in an all-in-one solution. Most of the other players in this space charge monthly subscription costs or take heavy revenue cuts. Ribbit is an open and free solution which allows local businesses to have a risk-free trial. No one wants to wait for 4 days for a hardware technician to come in and set up your store's rewards program. Ribbit is a cloud-based solution, which means that if you're a local business, you simply sign up on our website and you can start receiving customers right away. We do not serve big box stores or chain stores. We're exclusively for local businesses because the very mission of our company is to empower local businesses to be competitive. And for the first time, we're aggregating local businesses under a platform-wide loyalty program so that collectively they can become the biggest player in the market.
To add to that, we believe in keeping it super simple. So every time a transaction goes through the platform, Ribbit collects a 10% transaction fee. Now this 10% covers their payment processing fee as well. We can be part of customers' everyday lives, from their morning coffees to going to get a haircut to their long list of Christmas gifts. The market opportunity is huge. On average, a local coffee shop in North America makes $250,000 annually. With 27 million local businesses in North America, we're sitting at a total addressable market of $675 billion.
Now that's the market opportunity. We'll tell you a little bit about how we started this business, where we are today, and where we are going. So Ribbit started as an university challenge at Trent University. And Sana and I took part in the annual entrepreneurial competition called the $5 Challenge. We were given $5 and 5 days to run a successful business. While our friends went and took their $5 and sold popcorn and lemonade, we wanted to do something valuable for our community. With our $5, we printed a sample coupon booklet and went to local businesses in the Peterborough downtown and offered them a subscription on our coupon booklet in exchange for $150. At the end of 5 days, we had 43 businesses signed up, and we changed $5 to $6,300 and broke the North American record for the most money ever made with just $5. Thank you. Now, after the competition, we forgot about this, but something incredible happened. Every local business on our platform came back to us and said, this is the best marketing program I've ever participated in. This is the best $150 I've ever spent. When are you guys going to do this again? And this was our aha moment. So as the next logical step, we transformed this physical coupon booklet into a mobile experience. We launched Ribbit with a mobile app, as a mobile app with special offers from local businesses. In our first year, we had 92 participating businesses. We generated $130,000 in transaction volume and made $50,000 in revenue through a monthly subscription model. As we ran Ribbit in Peterborough and looked into scaling and growing it beyond Peterborough into major markets, we found two things. One, the monthly subscription model, even though gave us short-term revenue, was not attractive to the vast majority of local businesses who did not want to pay upfront cost without knowing what value they're going to get in return. So we transitioned from a subscription model to a transaction-based model, knowing that in the long run, it gives us scalability, and in the short run, gives businesses an opportunity to try out our platform and give us mass adoption. In addition to that, taking feedback from local businesses, we expanded our special offers application to do much more. We now have integrated in-store payments, special offers, buying and sharing gift cards, and a platform-wide loyalty program, the all-in-one solution which has never been tried before.
And that brings us to where we are today. We're now a team of 6, Rabat, myself, 2 software engineers, a marketing specialist, and a community manager. We're raising our seed round of $500,000, of which we've successfully closed $275,000. This $500,000 gives us a 14-month runway to achieve our next milestone, which is to launch in Toronto and generate traction with $1 million in transaction volume. Now, as we go from Toronto, we'll be looking at other major hubs such as Ottawa, Vancouver, and Montreal. Based on the size of each market, we project to have about 2,500 local businesses in each market, and over 5 years, we'll be in 10 markets, bringing our total customer base to 25,000 businesses, which brings our annual recurring revenue to $36 million.
Now, without digging further into these numbers, we'll give you an overview of how we're going to achieve 25,000 businesses in 5 years and generate $36 million in annual recurring revenue. In every new market that we go to, we begin with a grassroots level approach. We use a combination of door-to-door sales and local BIA channels to get the first momentum going. We sign up 100 to 150 businesses in the new market and get the supply side running. As the supply side builds up, we push on the consumer side and get the first few hundred users excited about participating businesses in their neighborhood using a combination of social media and in-store promotions. As the traction builds up, we leverage network effects using a combination of social media, word of mouth, referral marketing, and online marketing. As an example, one local business who is on our platform can invite another and get $50 in credit towards their transaction fees. Similarly, a user can invite other users to join the platform and get $5 to spend at any of the local shops on our platform. As we scale and grow, we'll be exploring long-term partnerships with players that have mass access to the local business market. Examples include POS integrations with companies such as Touch Bistro and Square, who combined have more than 100,000 local businesses on their platform. We'll also be looking into API integrations with other online platforms such as Shopify and Yelp, which will complement the services that we offer on our platform.
Local businesses are making a comeback. There's a new wave of consumers that are shying away from the cookie-cutter box store routines and choosing locally made, authentic experiences. Last year, local breweries collectively sold more beer than the industry giant Budweiser. This is a trend that's here to stay, and Ribbit's going to leverage this untapped market to celebrate the local movement. Tonight, we invite all of you to join us and be local. Thank you.
Good job. Welcome. That was great. Look forward to seeing you on Thursday.
Thank you.
And I mean that most sincerely. I think that the air miles for the independently owned business is such a good tagline. As you can see, there's a theme for me on my side, and that is, again, when you're presenting to strangers, you have to, in the shortest, easiest manner possible, present what it is that you're doing. And as Olaf did, and as you did there, but I would say that right up front. And in fact, I would almost take where you started with half your presentation and put that first. Because that's where you positioned yourself in terms of what you do, the whole go local trend, which is absolutely there. Other quick comments, because I know I'm going to see you Thursday, are when you're talking about your revenue, you need to change this slide for Thursday. Right. It's not $250,000 for the coffee shop times 10%. It's the incremental revenue that you bring. So maybe it's 25,000. I don't know. So that changes the economics. It still makes it profitable. Another comment would be, rather than telling me about the 25,000 businesses in 5 years, tell me about the 2,500 businesses you're going to get next year. Because if you get, it's like an anchor chain going up a boat. If you get the 2,500, the 25,000 will come. And from an investor perspective, that's where we really want to focus in on how do you make that next 6-9 months happen. In terms of presenting it from, I can't remember her name, the coffee shop woman perspective. Frame it from the perspective of I as the consumer. I understand why the business is going to want to use your service knowing that I'm going to come through the door. What's not clear to me is why I want to use it. So if you can address that. That's about it. You've got 48 hours to do that. Thank you.
We're on it.
Well, great presentation. And I really like you guys. You have really strong commitment. And I have $20 in my pocket that I'm looking at trying to see how much money you can generate from the $20. Based on that conversion of the 5,000 to 6,000. Okay, we'll pool our resources and put in $1,000. There are a couple of items that I'd like to sort of just throw out to have you consider. Instead of jumping from Peterborough to Toronto, it seems to me that you've demonstrated that you have a working model. I wouldn't ignore actually what works and go to a huge market, but rather there is a significant number of smaller communities that could really embrace your model a lot quicker than a very crowded marketplace. So that's one aspect of it, because I know that you work with BIAs within the local communities, and to be quite frank, unless you have a strong relationship that exists within the Toronto marketplace, then mention that in your presentation, especially on Thursday. But that's a tough nut to crack. Whereas in the smaller communities, the BIAs are extremely well connected to all of the local merchants, and they in turn will be your advocates and your missionaries as you're trying to get out there. So I think that's, at least from my perspective, that's the way I would approach it from yours. Build on that, establish that brand, and I like your brand, by the way. And I know the history, so it's a great story that you can bring to the table. Also, look at how can, as Malcolm mentioned in the previous presentation, what is your moat? And I always like to take it one step further from what Malcolm mentions. It's not just creating this protective area around your castle by putting a moat. I like to put some sharks inside that moat so that when someone does try to swim across that moat, they get eaten alive. So think about that, okay? But great job, guys.
Thank you.
Great job, and I thought it was an excellent presentation. And I like the fact that you guys are building your business around to support the local business, especially the small businesses that are struggling digitally to get their information out. The model that you're using from the subscription model, you're going to go with the transaction fee. I thought that's also a very smart move to make it easy for the small businesses. From what I've seen and everything that you've laid out, I thought your plan is well laid out in terms of the direction you're going, and you're giving us enough information to, obviously you guys are very smart and know how to make money, if you could make money from $5. There's one slide though that kind of threw me off, so I wasn't 100% sure. You talk about the 27 million times the 250,000, but on the 250,000, you mentioned that was the average for a coffee shop, but then you sort of times that by, so I was thinking, well, not every business is that 250,000, so it just kind of threw me off. So you may just want to make the adjustment on that so that it doesn't get confusing that it's going to be 27 million coffee shops that are going up. But overall, I thought it was a great presentation, and I wish you guys success.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Here you go. Maybe the first question you guys can help everybody with is, what is a BIA?
It's a business improvement area. So it's an organization that works with local businesses. Their local businesses are their members, and they provide them with means and with support to attract customers. It's kind of helps revive the downtown and really bring in customers to the local businesses.
Perfect. That'll help everybody. Questions? Pat?
Hello. Hi. As your presentation, I just am so impressed. From the first time that I saw it to this time, it has gone through quite the change, and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I also, we were at the NACO conference in Montreal. Are you familiar with Skip Dishes?
Yes.
Largest growing company in Canada. And their model was not to go after the big boys. Their model was to go after the smaller towns. And now they've built up this huge company, and he's at an NACO conference telling us all about it. I think I think you and I may have had that conversation in the past, where a small town, I think, build up your traction, build up your network, and congratulations to you. You are the future of entrepreneurialism in Canada, and I'm so tickled that I was able to see you guys before, and I look forward to seeing you again on Thursday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, another question? Yep.
I am Lee Joseph. I have a question regarding your pricing model. It said 10% of the transaction cost or the 10% of the loyalty cost?
So it's 10% of the transaction. So any transaction that we generate for the business, be it a straight purchase or a special offer purchase on our platform or a gift card purchase on the platform, we take 10% of that.
So if somebody buys for $10,
yes,
your rate is around $1. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Isn't that very high compared to the standard interchange fee for a small and medium merchant? Because on an average, interchange fee is around 1.5 to 2%, and that itself is considered as a burden for the small merchant. So isn't that going to prevent small merchants from tapping onto your service if 10% is the fee actually?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only feedback
For sure.
I have on that one.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So we don't look at ourselves as the payment processor, right? So where we come in is the local business is paying hundreds of thousands of dollars maybe in different cases, advertising and using different platforms to communicate their special offers. Purchasing the kinds of gift cards that a big box store has, just printing those gift cards costs a local business $1,000 just to get the gift cards. Most local businesses are not equipped with the kind of POS systems or barcode scanners to even accept those kinds of business cards, gift cards. So that's only one vertical that we're solving. In addition to that, our local business, if they're offering a deal on Groupon, Groupon takes 50% of any revenue that they generate. So if you aggregate all the offerings that we replace and tie that with the 10%, in the long run, the cost that we take from the business actually evens out and is more cost effective to the business than spending all the hundreds of dollars in multiple different fragmented solutions. The way the business sees us as we drive incremental revenue to them that they would not have had before. So if we drive additional revenue, they're happy to part away with 10% because it's revenue that they did not have to work for, that our platform generated for them. And that's the same model like Uber Eats or Foodora. Any of the delivery platforms take anywhere between 20 to 30%. And the food vertical is very comfortable parting away with that kind of revenue sharing model.
Other question was in the point of sale system itself actually. What channels you have for the POS, for the sale when they enter the transactions? So what is the mechanism you have there?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, so right now we're a standalone system. The business signs up on our website. They can download our app or have our website, so there's no hardware integration at the moment. That is a friction point in the short run, but that gives us immense scale, and that's the same strategy that Uber Eats or Foodora or all the delivery platforms have done. In the short run, it gives us scale because there are hundreds of POS systems that we'd have to integrate with. But in the long run, we'll be exploring POS partnerships as we achieve scale.
Yeah, and to add to that, for local merchants right now, everyone who has a POS system normally has a way to identify that purchase either through cash or debit or credit card. So all our merchants have created another tab called Ribbit. So when the purchase goes through the platform, they click Ribbit. And just as they do at the end of the day with their Moneris terminal, print out all the transactions that went through, they can do the exact same thing with Ribbit, and then their POS system and the Ribbit transactions all add up.
One quick question: how does it work when you do redemption or redeeming it?
Yeah, so that's the beautiful part about our platform. We fund the loyalty program on the platform. So as a consumer, when you go to business A, B, C, and D, you're collecting points every step of the way for making your everyday purchases, and you're collecting points. Those points equate to a dollar value. Now, when you want to spend that dollar value, say at business D, and you go and spend those points, we take that money from our account and deposit to the business. So the business actually makes money on the rewards program, as opposed to thinking about giving a free coffee or a free retail store. And so, and that's our unique value proposition. So when the businesses hear about it, they're like, that's unbelievable. That really works for them.
Did that answer the question?
It did.
And another question?
Any other questions? I could ask questions all night. So.
This is just, I was in Bracebridge this summer, and I was surprised I went to a group of actually just went to quite a few small stores. And your presentation was excellent. Really enjoyed it. But I noticed quite a bit of pushback on, this kind of came up now when I was thinking about it, on a lot of loyalty programs and Visa. And every store we went into, when I paid cash, it was almost like, thank you. Because it was, it was simple. They received the cash, they got the cash, they weren't worried about other deductions. And I was just wondering if you've seen that. And also, I don't fully understand your 10%. But that sounds extremely high for a small business. And I don't know how that, because you're bringing it all into one, the other one's going to have to pay, right? So I'm a little bit confused there. I think there was an answer there, maybe I just didn't understand it. But anyways, that's all I kind of had to say.
Yeah, no, happy to go over that. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure I understood that question correctly. So the 10% you're saying is seems high for a local business.
From what I sensed this was just great.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just seemed like they were just so happy that I paid cash.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
There's all these, Visa's very expensive.
Yeah.
So when, I think Visa takes what, 3% or something like that? So when you go from 3%, adding another 7% to 10%, I'm just wondering, what is that 7%?
Yeah, for sure. So on average, a local business would pay 3% for the payment processing, which we take in as part of our 10%. So the remaining 7% kind of covers all the other stuff that they would be paying for. For example, if they're reaching out through the local newspaper to tell someone that they're giving a $10 off coupon, they pay about $1,000 to get the word out there, not sure how many people actually read the newspaper, and then when they come in, they actually don't get any data on who's using this. And then the same thing with gift cards. The gift card industry, which is great for local businesses because people love to give customized goods that actually mean something. That gift card is very hard to get from a local business because A, they don't have the online presence. And if I want to buy a gift card for someone from a local business, I have to travel to that store, pick it up, go drop it to a friend. And I mean, if we're not in the same city, that's never going to happen. So we kind of cover the areas that a local business currently is spending money in and trying to attract new revenue, not getting into their current revenue. And it's the same thing with loyalty. So if they have a punch card, you buy 10 coffees and get the 11th free, or spend $100 and get $10 back. Businesses are comfortable giving back 10% to increase loyalty. And so far, we've had a 100% conversion rate from the subscription model to the per transaction model.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. I think, when you actually go at grassroots level and start talking to local businesses, what they're actually not comfortable paying is $300 in monthly subscription fees to programs like Vicinity, which they have to manage and run, and they're responsible for attracting customers. Pay-per-use and revenue sharing models are becoming very popular, especially at businesses where the cash upfront cost is very difficult to put up front. So a lot of the bigger players that are in the food delivery space, for example, I use that as an example because there are many successful players who have dominated the market in that space, are comfortable with no upfront cost and taking more of a hefty revenue sharing just because it's a win-win for both. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Okay, that was great. Thank you, guys. Okay, so we're all we're complete. We have finished 4 great pitches, and I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Network, hang out, chat with people, have a glass of wine, drink that chocolate wine. We need to get rid of it, and enjoy yourselves. And thank you for coming out. We'll see you guys on Thursday.